Hey everybody, this is Erin Acupuncture from 5 Points Acupuncture in Pensacola, coming at you live from my home studio, which is otherwise known as my back porch. Seems to be the quietest place for me to be, minus the road noise in the back that you'll hear. I just wanted to say thanks to all the patients that have reached out to me. It's shocking to me how many people have contacted me to ask me how I'm doing. And how's my family and how are we handling this? And I'm sure all the same conversations that people are asking you, and people just being generally concerned about my health and well-being. And because everybody knows me as Erin Acupuncture, when I don't have that in my immediate tense, it does make me a little unsettled. It's interesting that this is probably the longest I've ever been away from acupuncture without having had a child to be consuming my every moment. So it's a good exercise. And one of the things that a patient said that really struck me today was the thing I miss most about acupuncture isn't the treatment, but it's just the conversation. And normally when I'm upset about something or I'm freaked out, we'll have some chit chat about Chinese medicine. And she said, you always pull out some thing that Chinese medicine says that even if I don't always understand it, when I think about it, it makes me feel better. And I don't know, I've had a few days of struggle with this whole coronavirus thing lately. I really started off with a bang, kind of feeling good about it. And I think that's the normal thing, though, is to have these ebbs and flows. And one thing that I do want us to recognize is that humanity has dealt with infectious disease historically forever. And interestingly, side note, if you know me, I have a microbiology bachelor's with a pre-med major, and it was the first year of college when I read a book called Flu about the 1917 and 1918 Spanish influenza epidemic that swept the world, that turned me into a microbiology major. So infectious disease has always been really fascinating to me, and Chinese medicine has volumes, written about the treatment of Chinese medicine using the same tools that we would use anywhere. So I guess I have a little bit of comfort in having that knowledge, more so than probably a lot of other people. But the other thing that really kind of struck me, as I just always refer to Chinese medicine and Yin and Yang theory. Yin and Yang theory is the theory of everything. It's the theory of relationships. It's the theory of opposites and gravitational changes and the cosmos and the universe. And sometimes when things are this catastrophic, you really can't even wrap your head around the immediate. But if you can really get the 10,000 foot view, I think Chinese medicine gives us a lot of great information there. So what it really got me to thinking about is yin and yang, expansion and contracting. And Chinese medicine has always told us that you can't have one without the other. You can't expand in a constant and perpetual way. It's against the laws of nature. Nature has to retract. You have to have a sun to balance the moon. You have to have a full moon. You have to have a new moon. There's always a cycle and a rhythm. But I think as human beings, we're not necessarily on the planet long enough to experience a full cycle. So it's been about 100 years since we've had such an enormous global pandemic. And maybe that's a cycle. It's just too much for our eyes. I think Chinese medicine kind of teaches us that sometimes the hardest place is that in between. And I always use this analogy with people in the office about, when they're stressed out or they're transitioning and there's a lot of unknown and there's just that shade of gray, there's that gray area that's just not particularly comfortable. And because I live on the coast, on the beach area, water analogies are pretty ever present around here. So the life of a surfer, right? There's kind of 3 phases of surfing. And the first phase is paddling out. And paddling out is not the funnest part. Paddling out is the hardest part. It's getting through the waves and getting out to the place where you're going to catch a wave that you have to do. Like, that's the foundation. If you don't do that, you can't catch a wave. So paddling out is hard. And then catching the wave and getting back in is euphoric. It's elation. It's the whole point. It's often the shortest of the 3 phases, right? It's only a few seconds to a few moments, or a minute maybe, or if you're one of those crazy surfers, maybe it's 5, I don't know. But the point is, paddling out takes a long time, but the longest time, the most time, is neither. It's not paddling out and it's not riding, it's sitting in the water, waiting for the break. It's sitting in the water on your board, just waiting for the moment. And the gift that surfers are cultivating is not the endurance of the paddling, it's not the euphoria of the wave. The gift is getting comfortable in that place of unknown where there's nothing happening. You don't even know what's happening yet. You don't have any choice but to just wait. Wait for your wave, wait for your moment. And if you can get comfortable waiting in that space, if you can be content and find the value of being in that place of boredom, uncertainty, just having to be present, then the highs and the lows are always going to catch up. The hard work and then the gift of writing it in. So I feel like at this moment, this is kind of where we are. We're all just sitting on the board. We don't really know. We don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know what it's going to look like when it's over. We don't really know. People are probably going to start to catch waves at different moments depending on where they are. But if you can just be okay with sitting on the board, then there's going to be a moment when you get ready to catch that wave. And I think that's what Chinese medicine always gives me, is just a place to go, a frame of reference to look through that says, this is all okay. It might not be something that we've ever experienced in our lifetime, but all of our ancestors have. So I think we need to find a little solace in that. And as intimidating as this is, just step back and get that big picture perspective and try not to worry so much about the minutia, and just hang with us. So I know this is a long video. If you listened, I appreciate it. This is probably what we would be talking about at my office. So take care.